Napuputol nila. Ano 'to, unlimited? Wow!
A Filipino fan stepped up to the Indian Wells tournament officials and dropped 7 words that are now bouncing around every boardroom in women's tennis. 7 words that cut straight to the heart of what Alex is doing for this sport. And when Aryna Sabalenka caught sight of what was unfolding around her at the same tournament, she couldn't just look away. Here's the real question everyone in tennis is buzzing about right now. Will Filipino fans eventually fall for the sport itself? Or will they keep showing up only for Alex Eala? And is that kind of loyalty a headache for the WTA or the biggest blessing the sport has seen in years? Drop your honest thoughts in the comments immediately. But let's start with those 7 words because literally everything else in this story spins out from them.
Water bottle car. Where are you guys from?
Huh?
Where are you from?
LA.
Okay, so your name, nice little 2-hour drive. What's your name, man?
Andrew.
Last name?
Rivera.
Rivera. So you came all the way here. Are you gonna get to watch your matches or?
I've been coming to this tournament for 10 years.
Oh wow, so now you have someone to cheer for.
Finally have a Filipino here.
Awesome.
On March 7th, 2026, inside the BNP Paribas Open at Indian Wells, a Filipino fan was standing right in front of tournament officials. Not behind a keyboard, not in some private message, not through a carefully crafted statement sent by a rep, standing there in person, on the record, at one of the biggest tennis stages of the year. And when the topic of tickets came up, this fan said it loud, clear, and unapologetic. "We pay only when Alex plays." 7 words. And since that moment, those 7 words have been echoing through every WTA boardroom, every tournament director's office, and every conversation in sports business circles. Because these aren't just a funny fan quote for a highlight reel. They are an economic declaration, a market signal. An entire demographic is telling tennis in plain words that their money moves for one name and stays frozen for everyone else. That's not casual fandom. That is pure, exclusive financial loyalty. And for a sport that's been chasing a global audience for decades, the weight of what those 7 words mean is massive.
Ano po kayo nanonood ng Indian Wells?
No, this is the first time.
First time. Anong kamusta experience so far nakita niyo si Alex?
Great. But so far, I've seen him really playing right now. Maganda. Level. He has a stroke. But that's only practice though.
Pero kayo po?
We could see she has a skill.
Yes, skills, of course. That's a natural form. It could be
video?
Yeah, this video, yeah.
Where is it?
This is gonna on TV Patrol.
TV Patrol.
Yeah, Philippines. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
So are you near the area?
Yeah,
You live near the
we
area?
are from Beta Park. I'm
Okay.
from Riverside.
I see, okay.
We come here every year.
Okay.
Now we came here because she's also here.
Of course.
Now we're in this. Yeah.
So
we're in this together.
Alright, so you're gonna watch on Friday as well?
Win or lose. Sure. Win or lose.
Now, let's frame this in the context of what was happening at the same tournament at the same time, because the contrast is what makes this story impossible to ignore. Aryna Sabalenka is the world #1. She came into Indian Wells with an 11-1 record on the year, fresh off a commanding 6-4, 6-2 second-round win, 3-time Grand Slam champion and arguably the most consistently dominant player in women's tennis right now by almost any metric you care to measure. When Sabalenka hits a major tournament, she's the headliner. She's the reason the cameras are rolling, the reason broadcasters are talking, the reason venues are expected to be packed. And she was genuinely grateful for the crowd she got. Sabalenka even commented on how many seats were filled during her Friday match at Indian Wells. She noticed it. She acknowledged it because, given the context around her, it was impossible not to.
Just the Filipino fans, but to everyone, I think, here in Indian Wells, of course, sa mga Pinoy, maraming salamat sa suporta. Magkita tayo sana sa Miami at sana sa susunod kong laban, mas maganda yung laro ko.
That context, being 31 spots below her on a completely different court. a 20-year-old Filipina was making it impossible for anyone to snag a seat. Standing room only, flags draped over every railing. Fans drive hours from Los Angeles, San Diego, and the Inland Empire. And remember, there are 2 million Filipinos in California alone, packing a venue to capacity for a player ranked outside the top 30. While other courts sat half-empty during the same session, the world number 1 noticed the crowd she got and appreciated it, while the world number 32 simply couldn't make her crowd leave. That is the story. And the fact that Sabalenka, one of the most competitive and self-aware players on tour, was commenting on the crowd energy the same week Eala's fans delivered their "we pay only when Alex plays" declaration, tells you everything about how visible this dynamic has become at the top levels of the sport. This pattern didn't start at Indian Wells. It began earlier in the year and hit its first major public moment in Dubai, 3 weeks before Indian Wells. The tournament director in Dubai, Salit Talak, confirmed what the numbers were already showing. He said the event generated around $53 million over 72 hours and that the stadium was sold out for all of Eala's matches. People were scrambling to get tickets. And here's the quote that matters. He'd never seen anything like it. A tournament director, someone who's hosted every top name in women's tennis for years, who's watched Sabalenka, Swiatek, and every other elite player play in his stadium, saying he'd never seen this level of ticket demand from a player outside the top 30. That is not just enthusiasm. That is market disruption from a player who hasn't even cracked the top 20 yet.
The Australian Open numbers told the same story even earlier. Eala's pre-tournament press conference in January pulled 171,000 views on YouTube. Sabalenka drew 9,000. The world number 1, 3-time Grand Slam champion, the most dominant player in the sport, was outdrawn 19-1 in a pre-tournament press conference by a 20-year-old who had never reached a Grand Slam quarterfinal before a single ball was hit. That isn't about tennis skill, that's cultural gravity. And Eala's cultural gravity is operating at a level her ranking can't even measure. Steve Johnson spent over a decade on the ATP Tour, cracked the top 20, and played in front of the biggest crowds professional tennis has to offer. He knows what a real crowd feels like, because he's been on the court when it happens. Now he co-hosts the Nothing Major podcast and has become one of the most respected independent voices in tennis. On February 25, 2026, Johnson said something no major media figure had dared to say out loud yet. He asked straight up, "Is she bigger than Sabalenka? Is she bigger than golf? Is she the biggest draw in women's tennis right now?" And then he answered it himself. Yes, it is wild. Standing room only, sold-out stadiums, insane crowds worldwide. A man who's lived inside those arenas for a decade saying the world number 32 is already the single biggest draw in women's tennis. Not trending, not approaching it, already there. That kind of assessment from someone with that exact first-hand experience isn't something you can just dismiss with rankings. Now let's look at what the players themselves are saying, because the most striking endorsements of what Eala represents have come directly from her competitors. After Coco Gauff beat Eala in the Dubai quarterfinals, a decisive 6-0, 6-2 win, Gauff stood at the press podium and said something remarkable. She specifically thanked Eala for bringing a new demographic to the sport. She said it's great for tennis to have that kind of energy. The player who won the match credited the player who lost, not for her tennis skills, but for the impact she brings to every arena she enters, no matter the result. Gauff recognized that the Dubai crowd wasn't just there to watch a tennis match.
Eala's court, there was a crowd solution happening in real time. Fans who had never bought a tennis ticket before. Fans who don't subscribe to WTA streaming services, except for Eala's matches. The fan at Indian Wells literally told officials they only pay when Alex plays, and meant it as a straight fact, not a complaint. New demographics filling venues that had struggled for years. The WTA is watching this and asking a question with no easy answer. Is Eala's specific loyalty a gift to the sport or a challenge it doesn't know how to handle? If fans only buy tickets when she plays, what happens if she exits early? What happens to streaming subscriptions during weeks she's not competing? What happens to the growth story if the Filipino fan base, massive as it is, functions as an Eala subscription service rather than a tennis subscription service? Those are fair questions, but honestly, exactly the right kind of problem for a sport to have. The WTA has been chasing global growth for decades, and here's a player who single-handedly opened a market of 115 million people, generated $53 million in ticket revenue over 72 hours at one tournament, outsold the world #1 in press conference views 19-1, and inspired a fan to tell tournament officials face-to-face that the money only moves for her. That is not a problem, that is an opportunity. The real question is whether the sport is sharp enough to recognize it and build around it, instead of just benefiting from it passively. Miami is next. Then comes the clay court swing and Roland Garros. Tournament directors from every major stop on the calendar are watching what happened in Dubai and Indian Wells, asking the same question: how do we get Alex Eala in our draw? Sabalenka noticed the crowd energy at Indian Wells and appreciated it. She's too smart and too competitive not to have also noticed what was happening 31 ranking spots below her on a different court at the same time. The sport's biggest draw by competitive performance and its biggest draw by crowd attendance are currently two different people, and the gap between Eala's ranking and her crowd impact is unlike anything women's tennis has ever faced before. A Filipino fan told tournament officials 7 words at Indian Wells. Those 7 words are now the clearest, most honest summary of what's happening to this sport in 2026. We pay only when Alex plays. Until tennis figures out how to turn that loyalty into something bigger than one player, the entire sport is going to keep learning exactly what those 7 words mean every time Eala exits a tournament early and the crowd goes home. A fan said 7 words and captured an entire movement. Sabalenka noticed. Goff acknowledged it. Tournament directors are calling, and Alex Eala is just getting started. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel.